Well, thank you for having me. It's This has been a whirlwind experience. The primary this sort of very quick primary schedule, but it's been like a great crash course on politics and getting to meet a lot of people that I haven't met before. By way of introduction, my name is J L Cauvin. JL stands for Jean Louis, but from Starbucks to everywhere else, it's a lot easier for people to just say JL. By day, I'm an eviction prevention attorney, but I've also been a stand-up comedian for 22 years. I began doing stand-up comedy while in law school and sort of had a big um, surge in my career during the pandemic, basically as my stand-up and impressions pivoted to sort of mostly MAGA satire. Um, I am the son of a Haitian immigrant, a doorman from New York City. He came here in his early 30s, and also the son of an Irish American woman from New York City. So I am biracial, though when people look at me, they don't often see that, which kind of has lent to my life a sort of unique experience of um, I would say, hearing many things that you wouldn't maybe expect a biracial individual to hear. So when it comes to seeing someone like Trump and MAGA and seeing kind of hate uh, no longer sort of hidden or spoken in secret language, it's something that I'm unfortunately very familiar with throughout the course of my life. I studied history at Williams College and then got my law degree from Georgetown. And my first job out of law school was as a prosecutor back home in New York. Um, and basically, that's the resume. And it's nice that I have more time with you guys to sort of say it in a calm tone instead of the 3 minutes we've been given at all these events where it's sort of like
Mhm.
30 seconds of bio, 30 seconds of resume, 1 minute of what I'll do, and 1 minute why I'm the best. Um, but I got into this race, and just the reason I give all that background, a lot of people in this race have talked about, how they are going to be fighters, and they will share sort of experiences or relationships that define them and say, this is why I'm the best candidate for this moment. But when you talk about a son of a Haitian man who was a green card holder here, a history student, a lawyer, and a comedian. I don't think you could find a better Mount Rushmore of things that Donald Trump has gone after in his second term. Everything that sort of makes me who I am, everything I sort of cherish, both substantively and not so substantively, is something that he seems to want to target. Um, I never thought really about getting into politics. For most of my adult life, I've been on a sort of two career path trajectory. I basically just worked two jobs for the last 22 years. Daytime lawyer, often doing work in the community. Currently, as I said, eviction prevention, and I felt a calling. And I really don't think I could describe any job I've done as a lawyer as a calling, even as a prosecutor. I did that because I was interested in it, and I thought, a good person as a prosecutor, not just sort of a gung ho, reflexive law enforcement is always right type person, is who we need in jobs like that. Uh, but eviction prevention has been sort of the first job I've had as a lawyer that I felt was a calling. It is the most stressful job I've ever had because every day at work feels sort of like the fourth quarter of a game. Nobody's coming to you for just general financial planning. It's, I have received this notice of eviction, or my landlord wants me out. I haven't been able to pay my rent because of this illness or this job loss. And it has been very eye-opening to sort of be on a parallel track with the country doing that kind of work and then seeing how affordability has become this buzzword and this very important thing to so many more people. I would and I know that I'm looking to represent a district with many sort of relatively speaking affluent voters, at least that are engaged in this process. But I think I work day to day in the affordability crisis level of the crisis, not the this stinks, this is inconvenient, this is making my life tougher, those are all very real and honest feelings to have when your energy bills go up and when your property taxes are getting too high. But when it comes to where I work, the affordability is not something that is just a painful inconvenience. It is life. It is life where I work. And um, that was, that was sort of got me thinking, I think, along political lines of like, what could I do, instead of just, plugging holes in the system? Is there a place where I could do more? And then hearing that Donald Trump, wants to cut HUD funding, and I'm sorry to I'll get back to my inspiring bio soon, but cutting things like HUD funding by like 40%. And I'm already seeing the devastation of where we are now. It's one of those things where you say, I'm happy to do this work and proud to do this work, but if there's an opportunity to step up and do something bigger, I haven't even taken a leave of absence from my day job. That's another thing during this campaign, because I believe leaving the job to go to Congress is one thing, but every day it's like I feel like I'd be abandoning my coworkers and my clients if I just say, I've got to knock on some doors. There's 24 hours in the day. And for those 8 hours, I still feel obligated to go work with my clients. Um, but I also mentioned being a comedian. And that is something when I was talking about getting into the race, people, friends of mine who were advising me informally were like, well, how are you going to deal with the comedy? How are you going to frame it? And I said, well, I'm not going to Congress to tell jokes, obviously, though I'm not against it. But it's the skill set that I have from 22 years as a comedian, communicating, working all sorts of rooms across the country, building a large following. And that following really stemmed mostly from the MAGA satire I was doing. So it was when I sort of started becoming a little more political and pointed in what I was doing that I grew this community of hundreds of thousands of people on social media. Now I bring that up because watching Democrats during the Biden administration, as they did during the passage of the Affordable Care Act, sort of struggle with defending their own accomplishments and always seeming to be on defense. Even when we accomplish things, we seem to always be coming from a posture of defense. That was the other aspect that I said, you know what? The Democrats are struggling with communication. I am not, although I've seen examples where I wish Democrats would fight harder. I am not a complete naysayer on the Democratic Party, which sometimes seems to be at a lot of the events I go to. The Democrats have failed us. The message is the Democrats have failed us. And I look at it and say the Democrats succeeded under Joe Biden in many significant, I mean, huge ways that we, made the same mistake we did with the Affordable Care Act, which is to say, we'll defend this in 10 years, but for now we're going to run from it and get shellacked in midterms. And that's when I looked at the race and I said, there's nobody in this race that I think can effectively communicate for 2026. Because I don't doubt that the people in this race will argue and vote the right way. I don't think there's a Joe Manchin or a John Fetterman in this primary. But that isn't good enough. I think we had great wins and great policies implemented during Joe Biden's term. And all I kept hearing when Kamala Harris was running was democracy is a losing issue. People aren't happy about X, Y, and Z. And the Democrats are running on these successes, but people aren't feeling the successes. And to me, I said, if democracy is a losing issue, it's because we're not making the case. If we're not making the case for our successes, then we need people who can make the case better. And I'm old school enough to know when I would think what I'm arguing is sort of bordering on lunacy, to say, well, it's about who's got the most substance, who's got the strongest resume. That's who you send, and that's it. And I really believe that we need better communicators. And we have a lot of candidates in this race who would fit in 1996 or 2006. They're not bad people. I think they have mostly the right motivations, but where we are right now is a crisis. And I have issues that I care about, that I'm focused on, and I'll just, if I may, just while in these introductory remarks to frame it: elder care, affordable housing, climate, AI, democracy, and good government. Those are sort of the 6 things that I'm sort of focused on as a candidate that I think I can actually bring value to, arguing for policies in those areas. But without communication and engagement ability in 2026, we will continue to lose. We lost to a party with bad ideas and worse people. So you can't say it's we're not providing, we're not doing. We are ignoring the fact that things that used to feel superficial or like complementary to the process of winning elections and governing, they are now central. They are part of the core of governing now. And I don't like it, but it's also not liking it doesn't make it not reality. And I ran for this seat as maybe odd as it might have seemed to some people because I thought I had the blend of skills needed for politics in 2026 and that I could actually help this district and our party. And I may frame things a little bit more in a national way than some other candidates. I've lived in Bloomfield. I've been a Bloomfield resident for 6.5 years. I wasn't even in the 11th. I was in the 10th, and the 11th carved me into the district when they redistrict. So I feel like I was recruited into this race. I didn't go seeking it out. But I just think my skill set, I'm a substantive person. I'm a lawyer for 22 years. I work in areas that matter to Democrats and Americans, but I also do have an entertainment, a communications background that I've honed to a really high level that I know no one else in this race compares to. And when we're dealing with crises, I don't think it's the time to sort of say, we're in a crisis, so let's pick the same solution. Let's do the thing we've been doing for the last 4 decades. I think if we're in a crisis, it doesn't mean pick a crazy candidate. It doesn't mean make an unwise decision, but it does mean making a decision that is maybe not the formulaic decision that we've done time and time again. And that's why I got in the race, because I thought the skills I have, the issues I care about, are an asset and are not represented and are needed both for the district and the party at large. Because all politics is local, that's the cliche. But I think we all know that all politics under Trump is national as well. And you can send somebody to Congress who will vote the right way, and that's fine, and that's going to be good enough for a lot of people. But I think the more strong voices and the more efficient quality communicators we can send to Congress, we owe that to our party. So I guess that's my opening statement. I hope that didn't go too long.